in attendance is our superintendent, Dr. Steve Carlin. And, members of his upper administration, Deputy Superintendent Heath Hogan, Chief Financial Officer AJ Moore, and Director of Secondary Education, Renee Scott. And I would be completely remiss if I did not recognize one of our longtime educational leaders in Garden City who's here with us tonight, and that's Mrs. Florence Wilson. I'm the proud parent of 2 Florence Wilson Eagles. In 1984, an idea was conceived whereby past graduates of Garden City High School might be honored for their accomplishments. This idea was brought into action in 1985 when the first members of the Garden City High School Hall of Fame were inducted. In doing this, we demonstrated that Garden City High School produces graduates with second to none. 60 outstanding people have been inducted into the Garden City High School Hall of Fame. We can be proud to have these individuals represent us. I would like to have past Hall of Fame inductees who are present tonight please stand and be recognized. Thank you for your leadership and being here tonight and all the accomplishments that you've had. They make every day a great day to be a bumper. Each year, we add 2 more distinguished graduates of Garden City High School to the Hall of Fame. Tonight, we induct John P. Wheeler, the class of 1965, and John D. Pinniger, the class of 1978, to the Garden City High School Hall of Fame. And we will have a slight alteration in the program as far as the order tonight. I would like to have my peeps come up at this time and introduce each other.
Thank you, Steve. Today's been a good day for me. This morning I was able to speak to the Police Memorial Service recognizing officers that paid the ultimate price as well as those that continue to serve our communities. And tonight I have the honor of recognizing and introducing a man who's a retired chief law enforcement officer of Daly County. I have the honor of introducing this man for the induction into the Garden City Hall of Fame. It has served not only our nation, but as our community without reservations and with full commitment. Tonight it's actually an anomaly for me, being a police officer, to recognize an attorney. I was always told, John, if you have nothing good to say, then don't say it. But that's not the case, my friend. I have a lot of good things to say about John. This man is a 1965 graduate of Garden City High School. I'll tell my age, I was only 5 at that time. John earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science at Fort Hays University in 1969. I was only 9 then, John. He was a true servant not only to our community, but to our nation. He was enlisted in the U.S. Air Force, as I. We proudly recognize that on occasion when we meet. But he served from 1969 to 1973 and received an honorable discharge. And we thank you for your service there, John. He then returned back to Kansas and graduated in 1976 with a Juris Doctor's degree from Washburn University. John worked in private practice as an attorney, and in 1984 I began my career in law enforcement here and met with John on numerous occasions. And we had our battles as a defense attorney and me as a cop, but it was always professional. He was a man that you could talk to afterwards. His leadership in the community as past commander of the local American Legion post was instrumental in the continuation of providing an establishment for veterans and did a great service with our vets. In 1993, John Wheeler was elected as Denny County Attorney and subsequently elected each term thereafter and served 20 years until he retired in 2013. I remember having discussions about John retiring, and it was, are you sure this is what you want to do? Because I wasn't ready to let go of a friend that I worked with for 20 years. During his time in office as the county attorney, he was able to move his office to a brand new state-of-the-art building for his personnel to work out of. He established many things to improve prosecution in the Finney County Attorney's Office, to protect victims, and some of these things that he did, he established the first victim witness coordinator office in the Finney County Attorney's Office. He established the first sexual assault response team and worked jointly with the police department, sheriff's office, the hospital, to put together one heck of a team that's still going on today to protect the victims of sexual assaults. John purchased the proper equipment for evidence collection in sexual assault cases. He sent law enforcement officers across the nation for training. He was willing to stand up and say there was a gang problem when we had a gang problem in the mid-90s. And he successfully prosecuted and went after the first gang-related homicide case and held 6 defendants accountable in that case. It was a very trying case, but John was committed. He further helped build bridges between his office as a prosecutor and law enforcement. He was able to establish sufficient personnel in his office to handle the caseloads that we in law enforcement handed to him, to make sure Garden City was a safe community. Over my years, I found John to be one of the most very compassionate person that I've ever met by putting victims and community first. One year, 12 years ago, I came back to Kansas after burying my mother. John Wheeler came marching down the hallway, mad as heck, looking for me. I had no idea. I didn't even have a chance to look at my emails, my phone calls. And John opened his mouth and started to say a few words, and all I saw was anger. I got it. We were upset. And I said, John, I'm sorry, but I just got back and I buried my mom. This man stood up, came over and gave me a hug, and was there for me thereafter. I gained much respect for John in his leadership role and found him to be a true friend. When one reaches a significant position in an organization such as the county attorney, to me it's not the title that makes the position, but the person behind the title. It's for these reasons that I solicited the assistance of Sheriff Kevin Baskey and a long-term friend of John's, Ed Brown, that we nominated John Wheeler to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. It is for these reasons that I believe that John earned this honor. And it is my honor and privilege to introduce the local Hall of Fame inductee for Garden City High School, my friend forever, John P. Wheeler, Jr. John, this picture will be hung up here in the high school for years to come, and well deserved. As well as a plaque that you can take with you, recognizing John Wheeler, Garden City High School Hall of Fame, John P. Wheeler, Jr., class of 1965, provided to you this day, May 13, 2016. Congratulations, John.
Good evening.
Good evening.
After that, I don't have anything to say. That's a high compliment coming from the chief. I'm used to calling him Captain Hughes over many, many years. Now he's Chief Hughes. Just have a few words. I promised Mr. Walker I'd get him out of here in 5 minutes. First of all, correction. I wasn't the chief law enforcement officer. That's the sheriff and you. I was the chief law enforcement official. Keep that straight. First, I want to thank the school board, administrators, and staff at USD 457 for providing us with this wonderful high school, and of course the taxpayers who pay for it. I thank Chief Michael Hughes for thinking so highly of me and then acting upon that to nominate me for this very prestigious position. I thank Kevin Baskew and my friend Easy Ed Brown for writing on my behalf in support of that nomination. Ed is a longtime friend, a brother attorney, an early mentor, and he's very dear to me. Lastly, I want to thank the members of the committee who were charged with the difficult task of considering all of the nominees and making the final selections. As Mr. Norby pointed out, the purpose of the Hall of Fame is to say to the community and the rest of the world that Garden City High School produces graduates who are second to none. And we can look at that wall over there and our former Hall of Fame members around here and know that that's true. But that's such a mighty standard to meet. And I'm a little overwhelmed why I am here. But I am thankful. That's particularly true when so many high school graduates coming from this high school have excelled in all fields, in many fields, all around the state, the nation, and the world, that we really can't come close to honoring all of the people that really deserve this prestigious award. When Chief Hughes called me to tell me that I had been accepted for induction into the Hall of Fame, he had been notified, I assume, and he was in a meeting, but he had to call right away because he had to tell me before he hit the newspaper and the press and things like that. He congratulated me, and I admitted to him at that time that I am overwhelmed. And I really don't deserve this. Felt like that at the time, and I said it to a few other friends along the way. And boy, did I get corrected. Because my friends have told me to say I don't deserve this just tells me that all of those people who considered me deserving were wrong. And I can't do that. But I will say, I was not alone in my bewilderment. When my sister Susan called me to congratulate me, she immediately followed the congratulatory remarks with, "Why you and not me?" And that's a very good point, because I can tell you about her. She's a 1968 graduate of Garden City High School. My brother Bill, sitting over here in the blue shirt, when he called me to congratulate me, he was a little kind. He simply just said, "Why you?" You gotta love your siblings, they're all you got. You know, this Garden City High School is a 4-year school, which is really different than most of us that graduated from this school when it was a 3-year, sophomore through senior. Yet looking back on those 3 short years, those 3 years left such a lasting impression. We all grew during our periods of time in high school. We entered young and naive and left older, a little more knowledgeable, and equally naive. The thing that made it so nice is that we had a safe town. We had a wonderful physical facility, which is now a middle school, Horace Good Middle School. Nothing like this. This is state of the art. But you've got to remember that when Mr. Hyman and myself, the county commissioner back there who just drove me crazy for many years with mayor, when we graduated, we didn't have computers, we didn't have microwaves, we didn't have anything, so we couldn't have a state of the art like this. Our administrators, teachers, and staff were interested in caring, except for one teacher that I would prefer not to mention. I will say this about that one teacher. I kept my promise to him all the way through college and every degree of post-educational that I've had. I never, ever again took another math class. I satisfied my math requirements by coming home one summer from Fort Hays and took a physical science class from the Garden City Community College. And that's how I was able to graduate with that. But I don't want to mention that teacher's name, because he doesn't deserve it. I would like to recognize some of those people that were most significant to me in high school. Of course, our principal, Mr. Tom Safford. Ms. Inez Barber, English teacher. Mr. David Kraft, who was all sorts of things, teacher, basketball coach, he was my tennis coach. Mr. John Dickerson, football coach, but my G Club advisor. Larry Fowler, who was speech and drama. Max Goldberry, world of literature. Mr. Ken Griffin, government. Ms. Bernadine Six, Latin Club, Saturnalia, right? Although I didn't take home economics, Mrs. Burley Coons, I worked with her closely for many years thereafter when she was head of the local SRS here in Garden City. They instilled in me the passion to learn and then politely sent me out the door into life after graduation in 1965. I know this has already been done, but I want to pause here and again recognize somebody in this crowd who has been so significant in the lives of both of my daughters, Dr. Andrea Baker and Mrs. Allison Hayes. I want to welcome and recognize Mrs. Florence Wilson. She's a 2005 inductee into the Hall of Fame. Mrs. Wilson is a gift to Garden City, and she is a gift that just keeps on giving. There is no more beautiful person in the world than she. Mrs. Wilson's family has a great tradition at Garden City High School. Her mother, Celia Yeichen, graduated in 1910. Florence graduated in 1938. Her son Marvin graduated in 1970. And Tom graduated 74. And her grandson, Charlie Wilson, graduated in 2008. Over the years that Mrs. Wilson has been involved in teaching and also in activities at the school that is her namesake, Florence Wilson, every year the kids have given her a t-shirt from that year of Florence Wilson School. She gathered them all together and turned them into a quilt. And she donated that to Florence Wilson for the fun night, if I recall. And it was auctioned off, and she earned the school $562. Wait. The St. Martin, he would like to have won it, but he thought it looked like it was rigged. Florence told me that she was hoping that she would win it, but then they picked her to draw, and she was afraid now that she just might. She means a lot to my lives. I don't want to bore you with a running biography of my life. This is boring. I would like to mention just a few things of which I am quite proud. Mike has mentioned. I'm told it's all right to be proud, but not prideful. I'm proud to say I am not prideful. I'm supposed to be laughing. My family. I am John P. Wheeler, Jr. I was born in Garden City, Kansas on August 6, 1947. I am the son of John P. Wheeler and Harriet P. Wheeler. I have two siblings, my brother Bill and my sister Susan from Wheatland, Wyoming, both graduates of Garden City High School. My sister Susan can't be here. She'd like it. My daughters, Andrea, Dr. Andrea Baker, and Mrs. Allison Hanks. Andrea is a doctor of optometry, as is her husband. Allison is a speech pathologist by trade, as is my sister Susan, as is her daughter Haley. And anybody else I left out? Andrea's husband is also a doctor of optometry. Allison's husband is not here again. He's back there. And he's an engineer, a West Point graduate, and a perennial pain in my family. I'm proud that I was that member of the United States Air Force, and that I was honorably discharged in 1973. And I will say this. After I was discharged, I received in the mail an Air Force Commendation Medal from my commander in England. And it was for the exemplary service that I provided to the unit, the squadron, which I was assigned to, and pointed out, much flattering me, that it's very rare for an Air Force person to receive an Air Force Commendation Medal outside of combat zone. And I am proud of that. I'm proud of my service in the service organizations, the American Legion. I'm proud that I'm a past commander and that we work hard for the veterans in this town. I belong to the Lions Club. We provide a great deal of community service. I see some brother and sister Lions in here now. I'm also a member of the Historical Society. I regret that I missed the meeting Tuesday night. I've been a member of the advisory board of the Salvation Army here in Garden City for over 20 years. And that is such a valuable service that we provide to the people in need in this community. I think most people recognize that this award probably comes because of my 20 years as the elected Finney County Attorney. Some of those years were pretty hard. But I will say this, that we started in an office, 900 square foot, 4th floor of the courthouse, and wound up over on the corner of 9th and Walnut in a building that is so beautiful that when I stood in the tax lines of the treasurer's office, they said, "Oh, that's Wheeler's Taj Mahal down the street." But we grew from a staff of 3 assistants, one that left within a week after me, 2 that had never tried a jury trial, had barely seen the inside of the courtroom. I grew into 8 lawyers, including myself, a staff of 16 in the victim witness office. We were the starship of the state of Kansas when it came to technology. All fiber optic, we were connected in a way that no other office in the state was, because I was one of 5 pilot projects to incorporate a program that coordinated directly with the board. During my tenure as county attorney, I went through the board chairs for the Kansas County and District Attorney Association, ultimately becoming the president of that organization. It's quite prestigious work. And arising out of that, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court chose me to serve on the Blue Ribbon Commission for the Supreme Court, and then appointed me to chair one of the 3 committees of that Blue Ribbon Commission, coincidentally the Technology Committee, and then later the following year selected me to serve on the Budget Advisory Board for the Supreme Court that went absolutely nowhere in the legislature. Thank you, sir. I will mention this only in passing. I am presently a candidate for the 103rd District for the state of Kansas in the House of Representatives. That's the end of that. I'm proud to be in that position. We'll see how that goes. And I hope that I am able to serve the people of Finney County should I be elected to that position. So, for whatever reasons the selection committee finds me deserving of this high honor, I am very honored. Even more, I am deeply humbled. I understand that I am not to be too humble. I am, after all, reminded of the words of Golda Meir, former Prime Minister of Israel, when she once told the visiting diplomat, "Don't be so humble. You're not all that great." That's the way I feel. And thank you very much for this very high honor.
Now we'd like to have Mr. Matt Allen come up and introduce.
Good evening. John Pinniger is a 1978 graduate of Garden City High School. His accomplished public service career is highlighted by stints as Deputy Director of the KBI and Chief of Staff to the Governor. In the 25 years since, John's private sector career as president of the successful government relations firm Pinniger Smith & Associates Inc. continues to serve several regional interests, including his hometown of Garden City. Washburn University President Jerry Farley notes that in the role of lobbyist for Washburn University, John is as talented as anyone I have ever seen. His partner in Pinniger Smith & Associates, Doug Smith, notes John continues to use the professional associations and the relationships he has established to recruit for the Garden City community whenever he can. I can certainly attest to John's continued love of and commitment to Garden City. John has played an important role in all of the projects which have defined the last decade in this community. Regional commercial jet service, housing expansion, large-scale retail development, and industrial development. Senator Bob Dole, in his letter of support for John's nomination to the Garden City High School Hall of Fame, wrote, "Since I've retired from politics, I have had the opportunity to work with John, and I've learned that 1, he knows nearly everyone in Kansas, and 2, he is a friend to almost everyone he meets." It is my pleasure to introduce to you the 2016 Garden City High School Hall of Fame inductee, John Pinniger.
Good evening. It's nice to be home. It doesn't matter how far I've traveled or how long since I graduated, Garden City is my home. It always will be. I look around tonight at all of you, and many of you I know, and I'm also meeting some new folks tonight. I want you to know that I'm really glad to be here. I know a lot of work went in tonight to putting this event together, and I'd like to start by saying thank you. First of all, I would like to thank everyone on the selection committee for this wonderful recognition. It's the most meaningful honor I have ever received, and I'm very proud and deeply humbled. Thank you, Matt and Dennis Mesa, for advancing my name. It means the world to me. There are so many people here tonight that I would like to acknowledge. No doubt I'll miss someone, so please forgive me. Honestly, I thought I was really prepared and had written down who I knew was going to be here, and was shocked to see a number of folks from Topeka and other spots that I didn't know were coming. So if I missed someone, I do apologize. My sister Barbara is here from Houston. My cousin Stephanie is here from Colorado City. From Topeka, my extended family and longtime friends and business partner, Doug Smith, his wife Kathleen, their daughter Caitlin, and Kathleen's mother, Linda. And longtime friends, Bill and Ann Rooney from Garden City, and Steve and Barb Morris are here from Unity. I saw that John and Janet Frieden from Topeka popped in, and much to my astonishment, Janet Martinek and Sue Palmer are here. Janet Martinek, I give a great deal of credit to teaching me how to write. She is a stickler on English, she's a stickler on grammar, and Doug Smith and I worked with Janet for over 25 years, and I don't think as long as Doug and I ever handed her something to look at that it was ever quite good enough. But I'm delighted that you all are here. Also here are 3 former Garden City mayors that now live in Topeka and work. J.R. Bean, Ray Mesa, and Dennis Mesa. You know, I've learned when I go out to have dinner with these folks in Topeka, which with Dennis is frequently, any of you who know Dennis know that he is really, indeed, a connoisseur of food. When Dennis first moved to Topeka a few years ago, I weighed 175 pounds. It hasn't taken Dennis long to put some weight on. And to Roy Cessna for coordinating the Hall of Fame and the banquet, thank you. I know it's a lot of work. There are a few other people that I didn't know that were going to be here that I'd like to say hello to. Cliff and Pat Mayo are here. Cliff has been one of my friends for a long time, and Doug and I have enjoyed working with Cliff when we represent Finney County on issues. Archie Moody is here. Archie Moody and I became friends through a business matter, and he introduced me to Susan and Dale Wilson. And I really enjoy my visits and emails with those 3. I find them to be very inspirational and very much grounded. I've known Tom Walker my entire life. And Tom, you're not going to be out of here in 3 minutes. Let me also congratulate John Wheeler for also being inducted into the Garden City High School Hall of Fame. He served 20 years with distinction as Finney County Attorney, and as he indicated, he's now running for the Kansas House. Simply as an aside, I'd also like to share with you another Hall of Famer is running for the Kansas House. Many of you, if not all of you, will know her, Mary Martha Schreiber Good from El Dorado. It will be a lot of fun having both of you in Topeka. Growing up in Garden City in the 60s and 70s gave me a wonderful childhood. My life revolved around family, friends, school, church, our farm, and Explorer Scouts, Chief. When people ask about how I found success, the answer is really easy. The strong foundation my parents and grandparents provided, the role models and mentors I've embraced, the wholesome fabric of the community I grew up in, and the strong influence of my school teachers. Garden City has always been blessed with people with character, integrity, and common sense. Along with my parents, I had wonderful role models like Bill and Ann Rooney. The people here, then and now, understand community. After all, community is only its people. I had some really incredible teachers, transformational ones who cared about their students, like Mrs. Wilson, who was here, Mrs. Topsel, Mrs. Ramaley, Mrs. Seligdown, Mr. Dodd, Mrs. Allman, Mr. Kraft, and of course, my Latin teacher, Miss Sitz. Those teachers and so many others taught their subjects passionately. Speaking of high school, I was a pretty decent student and had really fantastic friends. But at times, we might have been just a little bit ornery. But overall, we were good kids, but there were a few times I'm thankful for the firm grace we received. Mr. Wheeler has assured me whatever we did do, the statute of limitations is long since passed. So I think I can tell you these next few stories safely. Did you see Ferris Bueller's Day Off? That was the 1986 movie starring Matthew Broderick, in which he and his buddies played hooky on a gorgeous day in Chicago. Ferris explains, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. Well, my time in high school was before that, but believe me, nice days happened in Garden City in my time as well. You see, my running buddies and I would skip out from the high school closed lunch hour and head down to the Coffee Inn, where you could find the best chicken fried steak in the world. One time, our high school principal, Mr. Woodson, sat down at our table. Uh-oh. In a very firm and yet fatherly voice, Mr. Woodson said, well, guys, you don't have all day. Eat your meal. We sat in silence, too scared to eat. Mr. Woodson, as he started to leave, he said, boys, thanks for buying my coffee. You had better not be 1 second late getting back to class, or you will deal with me. Well, we hightailed it back, and we were there on time. That wasn't the only day we skipped school. Some days are just too beautiful not to. About 5 miles into our trip to Dodge City, another Hall of Famer, Sheriff Craig, pulled us over. We were busted. The driver made up something silly about getting lost on the way back to school. Sheriff Craig replied, smiling, I'm going to the high school. Follow me. Sheriff Craig and Mr. Woodson lectured us. Then Mr. Woodson gave us a choice. Go home and inform your parents, or he would do so. I did. For about 2 weeks, the world as I knew it changed. No car, walk to and from school, no phone, no television, no visitors, additional chores, and a great, great deal of homework. 10 years later, I was sworn in as Deputy Director of the KBI, and Sheriff Craig was there. As we shook hands, he smiled and asked, John, did you ever make it to Dodge City? I've been knocked down a time or two, and at some point probably will be again. Failure, I recently read, is a form of feedback. If you learn something from a mistake, it is feedback. I expect to have a few more such lessons ahead of me. I've been fortunate in my career. I've met remarkable and noteworthy people, and I have been involved in events of historic acclaim. I sometimes feel a little bit like Forrest Gump. When graduating from Garden City High School 38 years ago, I would have never imagined that I would work for a United States President, a governor, an attorney general, the president of the Kansas Senate, and at the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. 25 years ago, and I take particular pride in this, Doug Smith and I founded our firm with one client whom we proudly still represent to this day. Happens to be a Southwest Kansas client as well. We work passionately for the interests of Western Kansas. We are honored to represent both the city of Garden City and Finney County. Along the way, we've enjoyed wonderful friendships with our clients and elected officials like David Hyman. If you only remember 2 words of my remarks tonight, I hope those are thank you. If there was anywhere I would have wanted to have grown up, it would be here and here alone. You, my teachers, my neighbors, my friends, Stephanie and Barbara, thank you. You've stood by me, you've stood with me, and you've stood alongside. I'm a better man for having known all of you. Thank you.
At Garden City High School, we have established a tradition. When we talk about our achievements, when we talk about our accomplishments, we always close with, it's a great day to be a Buffalo. Well, today is a great day to be a Buffalo. In closing, I really would like to thank each of you tonight for being here and being a part of this, and want to make sure that you know that you are invited to our Class of 2016 Garden City High School commencement ceremony. Starts tomorrow at 7 p.m. in our gymnasium. Please stay when you're done and enjoy some cake and lunch. Once again, thank you.